Hi, Casey.
Hey,
How are you?
I'm good.
Good. Now, you do a lot of work with audiobooks, and that is a performance, isn't it?
Yeah, it certainly is. It's sort of an endurance race. It's very different than other types of voice work that you can do that actors might be familiar with. And it's one of those things like you gotta love it if you're gonna do it, just because it takes a lot of energy, it takes a lot of time. But if you do like it, it's a great source of income.
And that's really grown in Georgia.
Absolutely. About 2010, we didn't really have an audiobook presence here. And Chris Fogg with Listen Up Audiobooks, basically he had been working in New York in that industry and had moved down to Atlanta and was like, well, I'm going to create that industry here. And really that, they've sort of been the source of that growth. Now there's other people and other, contractors and other businesses that have popped up that do audiobooks as well, but they're sort of responsible for the growth of that here, which is really, really cool.
What do you say to people who are looking to get into audiobooks?
Here's the thing. I did my first audiobook when I was in 2011, but at that point, I had already auditioned. I was like, I can do this. I'm an actor. I can do this. I do voiceover. And so I hopped in a booth, did a quick audition, got booked for a book. This was before 2011. Got booked for one, got in the booth and actually tried to do it. And they were like, I'm so sorry. This is just not going to work. Because I just wasn't good at it yet. But I knew I loved it and I knew I wanted to do it. I love telling stories. I think most actors would say that they're storytellers. So it really taps into that side of you. So I was like, all right, I'm going to go do my work. So I went and I took some audiobook courses. I know Jeffrey Umberger at the time was teaching some audiobook classes. And so I did that, took audiobook classes, really worked on it, came back, booked my first book in 2011, How to Rock Braces and Glasses. It was a really, really fun teen book, and I didn't stop working after that.
But that is an area if actors enjoy it that they can break into it and choose it as an option.
Absolutely. I think actors make the best audiobook narrators because most of us have had some sort of voice training at some point. It takes a lot of, there's a lot of physical stuff happening, and it takes a lot of that work to be able to get through an audiobook, because you're in a booth anywhere from 4 to 6 hours at a time, depending on your ability, your stamina, which is, again, another thing that's different than voiceover. There's lots of places around town that offer options, lots of different teachers that offer options for audiobook classes.
And then what for you, what was your moment of realizing performing, acting, voiceover, all that's what you wanted to pursue?
I think because I kept doing it. I kept getting work. I got nominated. Now, I was with a group of narrators. It was a multi-narrator book, multi-cast book. But it was this really cool series called Pure. There's Pure, Fuse, and Burn. And Juliana Baggett, I think, is the author. She was a best-selling author, and I got lucky enough to be a part of this multi-narrator cast, and we were nominated for an Audie as a cast. And so that was a big deal. That is a very big deal for audiobook narrators. So I think kind of experiencing some of that stuff early on, I was like, oh, okay, I guess this is my thing. This conversation is over. Oh my gosh, that is so cute. You're gonna buy that, right? Because that would totally look cute on us. Oh, you think I could pull it off? Girl, you would totally rock that. Question, do you remember the last time you listened to Miss You Only Live Once? Okay, first of all, it's YOLO. B, that was the most epic weekend ever. Yeah, because emergency rooms are so epic. Okay, listen, I've thought about this. It's never been this cheap. It's a limited edition. It's on a 3-hour flash sale, and I get a free gift with purchase. Why are you still talking? Buy it.
Is that how kind of you feel your performance acting career has been, just by a matter of opportunities that have come along and taking them? That kind of
100%. I've been thinking a lot about this recently because, I think when I was younger, I feel like I had this vision in mind of what my career would look like and what it was supposed to look like. as a working actor. And I had this notion of, well, you're only successful as a working actor if you're only doing, acting jobs, if you're only in front of the camera. I really quickly learned, like, if I don't do other things to support myself and make myself as versatile as possible, I'm going to be poor and broke all the time. And that's fine. Like, some people do that and do the whole sleeping in their car and eating peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and going to Hollywood and doing that thing and then rising to become this famous actor that never looks back. That's like getting struck by lightning, right? And so I made myself as versatile as possible, and here I have like built this life and this career, and I look back and I'm like, everybody's journey looks different, and I'm so proud of mine. And I consider myself a working actor, a working voiceover artist, a working producer. And I think that's what's beautiful about this whole thing, is everybody's journey can look different.
And being versatile and also working behind the scenes, is it a different satisfaction you get from that?
It's a different type of satisfaction. It has propelled me into a whole other side of things that I love. I do enjoy producing. I love directing. I get a lot of satisfaction from those things. I still get the most satisfaction from being on camera or being behind a microphone. However, I'm able to make a living doing these other things, which allows me to, again, continue to do all the things that I love to do. Well, I did some freelance casting, which sort of, propelled me into that behind the scenes, realm. And really the reason I did some freelance casting is because I knew other actors, and people would reach out to me and say, I have this project. Do you know anyone? I was like, well, I know several people. Let me get them to audition for you. So it put me in those circles, and I started working for a local nonprofit and doing production for them, working as a full-time producer. I did that full-time, and that it gave me a full-time income, and it was still flexible enough that I was able to kind of continue doing things like sketchworks, things like voiceover and film and commercials and all those things. But what it also did is it was like going to grad school for production, and I've now had experience working, in like green screen and blue screen and working, with the post-production side of things with like, Cinema 4D and like all this virtual stuff that I never would have been exposed to if I hadn't said yes to these like little micro opportunities that just continued. I just would gain experience, tuck that away, gain more experience, tuck that away. And really that's like, none of that was planned. It just came about because I continued to say yes.
One of the 5 things you can do to be a great small group leader is just show up. Now, that may sound obvious to lead your small group. It should just make sense that you have to be there. But this is actually the most crucial of the 5 things.
When was it that you, as a young Casey, decided, this is what I want to do, be a working actor?
So I did it from a really young age. I was involved, in school, when I was in school, started maybe in middle school, kind of dipping my toe in the water. My brother was in his high school acting troupe, drama troupe, and I am 7 years younger than him. So I remember going and watching plays that he was in, and I just loved it. I had gotten bit by the bug, but also we got a giant camcorder when I was a kid, like the family did. It very quickly became not the family's, and it was mine. And I made movie after movie, music video after music video. I did newscasts and all of these things as a kid. And so from a really young age, I loved performing. I just didn't know what I was doing was acting. I didn't know what I was doing was making movies. I just was having fun with a camcorder. I didn't understand the significance of it. So then I went through high school and was in theater, drama, all of that, and went to college for theater. I did in college. You could send your headshot in. There was like a big open casting call for, I think it might have been Days of Our Lives. Mm-hmm. And I got a call back.
Oh, really?
And I flew to New York to go and audition at CBS Daytime. I didn't know what the heck I was doing. I had never been on camera before. I had never done an on-camera audition. I wish I had been more prepared for what I was about to experience, but it's also like a really fun experience to like look back on here. I'm this little theater kid that like, it's like, welcome to New York. It's my first time going to New York. And I like went to the giant CBS building, went to their offices, assuming this was going to be just like this big cattle call where there's going to be lots of people. No, I'm in like this small office with just a few people. The head of CBS Daytime's walking by, and I'm like, I am not prepared for this. And so I went in and I auditioned. I'm sure I was terrible. Obviously, nothing came of that. But it was, you know, I can look back and go, that was like my very first audition. And I never, you know, I continued on and did theater and didn't go back to, you know, to try my hand at on-camera stuff until much, much later. I moved back down to Atlanta, and when I moved back down to Atlanta, it was like right when all the tax break stuff was happening here in Georgia. And that's when it really was like, okay, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna you know, try my hand with this side of the industry. Originally thinking I was going to move to LA, and then I didn't need to.
Now there's a lot of working actors in Georgia that have the opportunity to kind of make a comfortable living staying in Georgia, not have to go to New York or LA.
I moved back and I went to every networking opportunity I could get my hands on. It's because nobody knew who I was when I moved to Atlanta. I was able to meet people and make connections and get an agent. And so by the time I got an agent here in Atlanta, I was like, well, what am I, like, I won't, how long is it going to take me to get an agent in LA, and I'm getting auditions here. So why would I move to LA? So that's sort of what made that decision for me.
And when you went to London, was that to study?
So that was in college, yeah. So I went when I was in school in college to study British theater history and Shakespeare, which, if you're going to study British theater history and Shakespeare, do it in London. It's really the best place to do it. It was incredible. It was truly, even to this day, one of the best seasons of my life. It was incredible. Gosh, I just wish that as a kid I had really relished what that was, what that really meant to my life and my overall career. Those experiences obviously were everything.
Were you able to apply that training and that knowledge to camera work?
Yeah, I mean, I think every bit of training I received in college and, you know, when I studied abroad, all of that played into the makeup of me as an actor. It played into everything, and I have a great appreciation for Shakespeare, and maybe my great appreciation for Shakespeare is why I love, you know, me personally love very rhythmic scripts. Like, I can't get enough of like a good Aaron Sorkin. Like, love it. And I'm almost certain it's because of my background that I'm drawn to those kinds of scripts.
How important do you feel it is for people starting out of any age to kind of create their own opportunities?
Nothing, you're never gonna sit back and like, things aren't just gonna be handed to you. Like, that's just never gonna happen for an actor. Unless you're, you know, that person that's at a mall and gets discovered. I mean, nothing's going to be handed to you. So you do have to create your own opportunities as an actor, or whatever side of the industry you're in. You have to create opportunities for yourself. And I think the way you do that is, again, getting involved in everything that you can get your hands on that interests you, networking, all of those things, and then saying yes. Like, saying yes when you first start out to the stuff that doesn't pay. And then figuring out when you're at a point where you're like, nope, I'm worth being paid now. I'm not going to take another job. At that point, I'm not going to take another job that doesn't pay. But you got to get your feet wet somehow. You know, getting in classes, finding productions that you want to, if you're working behind the scenes, finding productions that are going on in Atlanta, finding out how to get involved in those productions. The more you do that stuff, the more you're going to meet this person and this person and this person, and make meaningful connections that lead to more opportunities. And I think that's a good practice for anybody who's really trying to succeed in this business, because it's hard and it's frustrating and it gets disappointing sometimes. But remember, you are ahead of where you used to be. Wherever you are ahead of where you started. And so if you can take time, when you get a chance, take time to go, but I'm not where I was when I started. and reflect on all the things you've gotten to do, you'll go, I've gotten to do some pretty cool things.
Good grief. What's your problem?
Hi.
Hi, I'm Shirley. Super good to meet you.
I'm Mark Reynolds.
Hi. So you're new to our little family here, huh?
Yeah.
Hey, did I ever tell you that Adam saved my life?
Well, we just met.
Yeah, I was on the wrong path, choosing the wrong choices, making a bunch of meth in my bathtub, blowing truckers at rest stops, dyeing my hair crazy colors. I had cornrows once. I looked ridiculous. But, I called and Adam, he helped me see that I'm beautiful and unique, and now I go to meetings 5 nights a week. Sobriety! Yay!
So Georgia is a viable choice. Doesn't have to be New York, LA, or Chicago.
For me, I am so thankful and grateful that I chose to make my career here. One, it's just more affordable to live here and make a life here. Two, you can have a life outside of the industry here. And I think something that for me would have been, and I think everybody's different, but for me, I think I know myself enough to know that when you live in a place like LA, I think it's very hard to make a life outside, carve a life outside of the industry, because everything is so industry focused there. And I think the other thing is, everybody there is there to do the same thing. It's a much bigger pond. And here, it's a small world. You go to these auditions and you know everybody that's in the room. And I think there's something really wonderful about that, because to me, I do feel like we have a community in Georgia, in Atlanta, an acting community that is very special and supportive. And I think maybe that's one reason we have been successful, and more Atlanta actors are getting booked in bigger and bigger roles than, in the last few years than in the past. And I think we've stepped up our game. We have always been quality actors, but we've risen to the challenge of like, no, we're just as good as any other market. Mm-hmm. The talent is just as good here.
And Casey, what do you tell people who ask about the life of a working actor? What advice do you give them?
I think any working actor or voice artist or whatever, wherever you are in the industry, you probably get asked all the time, oh, how do you get involved in that? How do you do that? I've always wanted to do that. I've been told I would be good at this, which I think is fantastic. I think that's a wonderful spirit to have. And I think in that same spirit, do the work. Go take classes. Go get involved and show up. And that's how you do it. There's no magic formula. You just have to do the work.